Right. So I'm going to try to make a tutorial on how to access the Physics Classroom Concept Builders 2.0. So I piloted this last spring, and we just got access again right now. So I will say that there are things bulky about this site, but having students be able to do this on their own time at home, submit the scores, get the scores to you, and then you can just type them into Infinite Campus is a much better time saving than having kids having to screenshot their name in there, which now will only be shown as guest anyhow. Um, and in that way, you don't really know if kids have actually done the work themselves or not. So I'm not going to go through how to get kids signed up for this. Hopefully, you know how to do that. If not, there are a little bit of ways. I'll go through that a tiny bit, at least show you how to get to different places. The first thing is you should have an account in Physics Classroom. So this is one of the places you can always go back to. Another place you can go a lot of times is down here. You shouldn't need to go to the store because our subscriptions were purchased for us. But these sorts of things are always useful. Teacher resources also especially useful. So if I look down here, it doesn't look like much, but one of the things I think is really useful if you want to get kids signed up is go to this directions for version 2. I wish that their hot links were highlighted in blue or something else, but this is gray and it seems like that's what they're doing. So here's some directions. So this is, like I said, actually a really good place to go for students, actually for teachers, so you can get information to your students. So this stuff I think has been done. This stuff is a place you could go, how to create classes, that's pretty straightforward. Adding to students, that's helpful. This is something I would do for students. So I'm going to click on this, and there's a PDF here. And so essentially when you make your classes, you give your classes a name, and then there's basically a sign-up code or a course code that you give it. My bet is that as more and more people use Physics Classroom, Concept Builders, the codes are going to get tougher to name because I think they want a unique name. So name it something unique to maybe you, to Pickerington, and to your class. So it might be, for example, Mr. Sasfi or Sasfi Integrated Science 2020 or dash 2021 or something like that. At any rate, the other thing kids seem to get a little hung up about is down here. So they don't quite understand that this number is going to change. So I actually printed these out for kids to turn them in class. They kept trying to type that number in as opposed to the number that was showing up on their screen. So that's a little odd. But anyhow, you could download this. You could hand type in the PDF what your course code is. So like I said, these are good places to go. And then there's a video here, things like this. So I'm going to go back. I can go to Task Tracker, or again, I could go to My Account. I'll go to My Account. So I've got classes set up already. There are also, again, the teacher resources are right here. This is what we just went to in the bottom left of the page. So there's a lot of ways to get there, which in some ways makes it confusing. So I'm going to go to My Classes. So if you notice, these ones are disabled. Those are the pilot ones that I used last year. I have some kids signed up so far, not all the kids signed up so far, and I'm using it only for my first year physics classes. So the eyeball basically means to take a look at it. X means you disable that, which I don't think you want to do. So if I go in here, you'll notice that I've got a certain task. They're ready to go. So I've only got one task. So concept builders are organized into topics, then tasks, then activities. So topic is something very general. So for example, I'll click on one of these. In concept builders, the only thing you can click on here, so that's weird. But these are all things that are in here. There's some chemistry ones, light and color, circular motion, so forth. So I'm going to go up here to one-dimensional kinematics, and I'm going to submit that. Now, there's no tasks yet in there. So tasks are specific concept builders within the topic. So I'm going to go click on that. So these are all the different concept builders that exist. I would recommend you look through those. There's a lot of them there. So what I might do at this time is I might copy the URL, go over to a new page, and I might actually go look at the concept builders. So the topics are all down here. If you notice, I selected one-dimensional kinematics, so that's what I'm going to look at. All these are different. Again, there's a lot of things kids can do. Most of the concept builders have 2 or 3 different activities in them. And you can decide whether you would want to assign all those to your students, which is kind of repetitive, one of those to your students, or maybe scaffold this and differentiate by allowing students to choose one of several types of activities. So for example, let's say I select this one, which is called Which One Doesn't Belong, which is kind of a nice review. Launch Concept Builder. So it shows up in this little screen. I'm going to expand it. And if you aren't logged in, this will just say guest and things can't be saved. Here, it knows that I'm logged in as myself, so I'm going to go ahead and start. And so again, these are 3 different activities. So for a low-level student or a student who might not want to get a perfect score on this, you could assign, let them do this level, middle, and higher. Oftentimes what I might do if it's a 10-point assignment, I might say that I would do 6 points for this, 8 points for this, 10 points for this if they get it done correctly. Again, you can decide that on your own. These are really more simplified versions of what you have up here. It doesn't make sense really to have most kids do all of those, although you do have the ability to assign, say that they do a minimum of 2 levels and they could do 1 as a bonus or something like that. So let's go to this master level here. So it says one of these representations is not like the others. Tap on the one that doesn't belong. So we've got a position graph. Object isn't moving here. So this does not agree with the other 2, so I'm going to select that. And there we go. If you select one that's wrong, and so I'm going to basically say this one, that is Ode Rats. Now the thing that I like about this is there's a number of different versions of the questions. So that one is red now, and we're going to come back to that. And we're going to have to get a question very similar to what we missed twice before we get the star. So it is actually really good and a learning opportunity. And there's lots of places to view directions to the main menu and then help. So if there's questions that you need help on, this will open up in a new window. So I think that's actually pretty useful. So I'm going to get out of this now because I don't need to complete that concept builder. So I do want to go back to this. So let's say the task that I want to do is which one doesn't belong. I might give a description to students here. And I could assign it visible at a certain point. That could be today, right now. Maybe it's due September 30th at 11:59 p.m. You can choose whether you have kids submit late or not. And if so, are points deducted? So I think the toughest part of these concept builders is really that there's a lot of options in terms of grading. If you just want to know if your kids get them done and you're going to give them a grade for that or what level they get them done, it makes your life a lot easier. So you could decide to put a points here for this or not. You can decide to count activity points or not. You can decide on bonus points if they have extra submissions or not. The problem is that this isn't entirely clear, like what's going on here. When you hover over things, that doesn't necessarily give you things quickly, but if you hover over it long enough, information will pop up. So that's helpful. So I'm going to say no, they can't submit it late, and I'm not going to put points into that. So that seems like that's done at this point. It's not really done. So I don't know why my computer is acting a little buggy right now. So there's a couple things you can do. Right now, I don't know why you couldn't do this before. It talks about minimum activities to complete, maximum activities counted. So you could put this as 0, 1, 2, or 3. So if you wanted to do 2 and a maximum 3, and you could put bonus points for the extra activity, you could do that. And again, if you submit, that's going to update it. Now, one of the things is this thread up here is where you can go if you want to back out. So I can get back to my account, my classes, Physics Mod through 3, concept builders, and stuff like that. That's part of the problem here, is that it's not clear what that pathway is. So I could go with this. This is a general menu for how you can assign task properties. In other words, how do you score those types of tasks, your message. It goes through things probably better than I did, for sure. And activity properties are basically how you're scoring each activity within a task. So we're going to end up going back to that. So I do not want that at this point, although you can always go back. So one of the things here is it'll talk about scoring. So right now I've got no scores and no way to score it, and that's basically the algorithm, so that's not good. So I'm going to go back to the task. And again, you notice I've got no scoring in here. It does have my class list down here though. So we can go to edit, or we can go to scoring, or we can go to edit activities. If you go to edit activities, this is a place you could put a particular score. So say I could put 6, 8, or 10. And you can decide whether this is required or not. So what you might want to do is have, say, the apprentice level required. The other ones might be optional. Again, you could add bonus points for that. It's up to you how you do these. I'm not going to have these required because I want kids to pick one of these that they want. So I'm going to save that. Maybe. And when you do that, it's going to update the points over here at some point. So 6, 8, and 10. You could edit back here. Again, you could change if you have bonus points or things like that. We can go back to the task. We could go to the scoring. And notice the scoring has changed now. So plus 0 points for completing the requirements, plus 0 points for required activities, sum of highest 1 to 3 non-required activities, points completed. So that's what the parameters are now. Like I said, I think the scoring is the biggest pain in the butt for this. So at this point, again, you could either go back here, here, or here. Let's say you've got this and it's a pain in the butt and you've got it the way you want it. And now you want to add it to other classes. So I'm going to go back to my classes here. And I'm going to look at this class again. This is the one that I just added. And now there's some different options. So again, I can look at it more closely. I can edit it. I can copy it. I can see the scoring guide. So the scoring guide is what I just showed. Editing it kind of goes back to this. The viewing the activity itself gets you this view and whether kids have submitted things yet. The copy feature is pretty nice. So I can do this and I could say, hey, I want my other mod to have that as well. Clone. And again, I was thinking about it. I think they did say they're putting new servers in. And now it goes back to this, and you notice I'm in my mod 4 through 6. If you want to do it again, you can clone from either of these two. Clone. Where do I want it to go? This one. So think about how you want to set up your classes to see if you want to have to do that a lot. For me, I've just got one section for all my regular physics classes, and I've got one VLA section. So I'm not splitting Oh, pardon me. For many things, I have that. For this, I have it for each section because it's going to be easier for me to enter that in Infinite Campus. So I don't know if that helps much or not. What I remember from last spring basically is that if you have questions, here's a place to go, here's a place to go, and then using this menu to get back to maybe the basic of where you want to go is helpful as well. There's more time up front than I would like, but the key is when it's entered in, it does all the scoring for you based on how you set it up. It lets kids do things at their own pace. It doesn't cause them to lose things if they haven't taken a screenshot like it did when they didn't register for the concept builders. So hopefully that helps a little bit.